Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to replace the screen on this iPhone 8 Plus. So we're going to need a thin pry tool, or you can use a suction cup, whichever works for you. I'm going to use a pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screwdriver, as well as a Y000 or Tri-Wing 0.6, and then a PH0 or JS0 screwdriver. And we'll also need a needle and, of course, the replacement screen. If you want, you can also get this adhesive that will basically put a seal in between the screen and the glass or in the metal frame, but it's not going to be as water resistant. So whenever you have damage to the phone, cracks or whatever, you don't want to get it near water or submerge it. You can get a tiny bit of water on it, but you don't want water to get into the edges. And even with this seal, it'll help, but you still don't want to submerge it. All right, so anyways, let's go ahead and pop the phone open. We're going to use a pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screwdriver and remove the 2 screws from the bottom. You want to keep all the screws in the phone in order because they are different size, shape, and lengths. If you mix them up, you can damage your phone. All right, so basically what I'm doing, I'm just removing all the screws and putting them on my desk in the pattern that I'm removing them. Okay, just like this. All right. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to get the screen out. So we're going to use this thin pry tool here. This is a very flexible tool. It's not like a metal that is brittle, so you don't want to use like a knife or anything like that. And if you don't have something like this, again, you can just use a suction cup, but you might have to put tape over the screen so that way the suction cup doesn't just lose the air suction through this. All right, so anyways, we're going to get between the metal housing and the plastic part of the glass. All right, just like this, and you don't want to push the tool too far. Then we're going to go around, and then we're going to pop this up. It feels like this screen has been replaced before because there's no adhesive. So you want to keep that in mind. On your phone, you're likely going to have to peel up all the old adhesive. All right, so anyways, now that we've got the side edges and the bottom up, we're going to go ahead and pull this up. And just like every other model, there's going to be adhesive under here as well. So you're going to have to slide the screen down. And then as you're kind of sliding it down, you can go ahead and open it like a book. And yeah, there's no adhesive in here. All right, so anyways, we're going to go ahead and remove the screws here. So there's the Tri-Wing screws here, and then the PH0 or JS0 screws there. So let's go ahead and remove the PH0 or JS0 screws first. Normally I would turn off the phone, but the screen is so broken that actually I can't even turn it off. And it actually presses random stuff at the bottom edge of the screen. So they actually got locked out because it kept turning itself on and trying to enter random numbers, and eventually it locked them out of their phone. So if you have the setting on your phone where it auto signs in after you type in the PIN, you might want to turn that off. That way, if your phone is broken, it won't type the PIN multiple times wrong. It'll just type a million numbers and then eventually do nothing. All right, so anyways, we got all the screws out. Again, you want to keep them all in order. They are different size, shape, and lengths, and we're gonna now set the metal plate aside as well. Okay. All right, now that we got that out, we're gonna disconnect the battery here. All right, so the battery connector is right here. Very similar to every iPhone. Okay, I just get underneath. You can use plastic pry tools, of course. I'm just using my fingernails because it's easier. That's what I have on hand. Get it? It's on my hand. All right, anyways, we're going to hold the power button for about 15 seconds to drain any residual power. And then once we're done with that, we can go ahead and disconnect the screen cables. We're also going to switch to the Y000 or Tri-Wing screwdriver. Okay, it's already been more than 15 seconds. Let's go ahead and remove these 2 screws. So first I'm going to loosely undo one, and then we'll remove the other. You don't want to just untighten one all the way, because if you do that, it can actually swing this bar around and then it will hit this cable. If you're careful, it's probably okay, but if you're going quick, you might end up slicing through the cable. I've seen where someone brought me one of their phones. I think they brought it somewhere else, or they tried to do it themselves, and they had this cable was torn. Either that, or they just opened it and tore the cable because it's in this weird springy kind of shape. All right, anyways, let's go ahead and pop this connector off. This one can be a little tricky because there's not much of a gap there. So you want to kind of get underneath the side edge here. Okay, and pop that up. And you want to be very careful, because if you break this, you have to buy all replacement of these sensors up here. Okay, I'm gonna pop up these connectors as well. Probably have a video of repairing one of this model before. Anyways, let's go ahead and pop this one out as well, and there we go. So now we got the old screen out. All right, next thing we're gonna do, we have to transfer over the home button and transfer over the earpiece speaker set. So what we're gonna do first is remove the home button. Actually, let me zoom in here a bit. I'm gonna keep my finger underneath the home button here, and we're gonna undo that screw first. Okay, once we've undone that screw, we're gonna go ahead and remove the others. Okay. And the reason I had to keep my finger underneath the home button is because if you don't and you put too much pressure, you can actually push the home button through and it will tear the home ribbon cable. I've actually even seen some where people drop their phone and it was enough to actually tear that cable. And then once that happens, you lose Touch ID forever, because Touch ID is actually linked to this home button. All right, and if you replace it, it's not going to work. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to separate this connector here. So usually I'll get one fingernail in between, and then I'll use another one to go ahead and pull the two apart. Okay, just like that. And here you can see it unlatched. All right, next thing we're going to go ahead and remove these. We're going to switch over to the PH0 or JAS0 screwdriver, and we're just going to remove all these screws. Okay. Again, keep all the screws in order. Okay, why is the screw staying in there? There we go. All right, just like that. Two more to go. All right, last one. All right, there we go. Now we're going to remove this metal bracket. Okay, now you can actually lift the camera up, but be careful not to touch the lens. Okay, so we're just going from the sides here, and then we can go ahead and take the speaker out. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to pop all of these out. Usually we use a heater. You can use like an hair dryer or whatever, just to get warm air. All right. Since this screen was changed before, let's see if we can actually get it out without it. I'm using this needle that I have this little bend in. We're going to go where this little dimple is holding the connector in place. Hopefully you can kind of see that. And we're going to get underneath there and lift it up. Oh, and you can see it actually came out quite nicely. I don't have to use heat this time. So there we go. And we got the home button out. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go to the sensors here. Let's see if these come out as easily or if we're going to have to use heat as well. So we're going to use the needle and we're going to go ahead and pop this up. Okay, and then we have to go in this little edge here and pop that out. Okay, it's coming out quite nicely. Let's go ahead now and get these gold contacts out as well. And go underneath, get underneath the dimple. I know it's hard to see because the camera's in the way. Okay, so we're going to now slide the needle along underneath that. Oh, be careful. Okay, it all popped up. Okay, now we have to get the microphone connector out from here. So this one can be a little bit trickier. I'm going to go around under here. Okay. And push this out. Alright, this one's trickier because the new screens come with adhesive for the microphones, so it actually holds down a lot stronger. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get that out and peel that up, and there we go. Okay, looks like I got a package delivery. Okay, and there we go. We got this speaker sensor set assembly out. So this one is now done with. Okay, let's set that aside. We got the new replacement screen here. Okay, now we just need to reinstall all the components. Let's go ahead and peel this adhesive protection off. Okay, and we're gonna get this back over here. You want to use these little raised dimples for the gold pins as a guide. Okay, so just line those up. Just like that. Okay, now everything is stuck down. Then we'll get these sensors all lined up. Make sure they fall into place nicely. Okay, they should be completely flat here. Now while you're holding this, we're gonna get this speaker back into place. It's a little dirty, so I'm just gonna brush it off. Okay, and we're gonna put this back into place. All right, slide that underneath. All right, and get everything into place flush. Hold this down. Looks good. We'll get this, put that on top. Okay, good to go. Now just hold this in place and let's get all these screws back down. Okay, and usually you want to loosely fit it so that you can make sure everything is lining up right. Okay, and once you get all the screws, you can go ahead and tighten it down all the way. Okay, so this phone is having a security lock. We're gonna see if we can somehow get around it because we don't want to wipe out the data if possible. It might be Apple has to do something to unlock it, but we'll see. All right, so we got that, tighten that. All right, there we go. Got all those screws tightened in place. Now we're going to remove the little rubber thing from down here. Okay, and we're gonna get this one in place. Okay, this old screen doesn't have the rubber things. If your old screen came with rubber things over these little feet, you can transfer them over. Okay, we're gonna now get the home button into place. So what we do is we peel this back slightly. Okay, and then you have to insert this connector in from the bottom here. All right, and then hold the home button and then slide your finger around, make sure it's nice and flush. If it's nice and flush, you can go ahead and put the protector back up. I'm gonna hold this out of the way and then lift the connector that's on the screen half up. Okay, oh, it's a little bit stuck there. I might have to use the needle. All right, so let me use the needle because it's difficult to get that up. All right, so now we're just lifting that connector up and out of the way so that it can go on top. There you go. All right, and then you want to make sure this lines up with the dimple there. Oops, sorry. You want to make sure that dimple lines up with that hole there. Okay, and a lot of the times you have to kind of push this connector inward. So usually I'll use my thumb to kind of push this in. I don't know if you can see, but it moves up towards the screen. Okay, and then you flip this over and click it into place. All right. Okay, so it feels like it's good. Click into place nicely. Let's go ahead now and put the screws back. So we're going to switch back over to the Y000 here, or tri-wing screwdriver. We'll get this metal bracket in place. Okay, and now we're going to do the opposite of before. We're going to get these outer screws in first. Okay, we're going to loosely fit it so that we can get everything lined up. All right, last one. All right, then we can go ahead and tighten that screw all the way down. I don't know why, but they're always missing this screw down here, so I'm going to have to transfer that over from the old screen. Anyways, last screw with the home button, same thing. I'm putting my finger underneath the button so that it doesn't get pushed down out of the screen. Okay, and tighten that into place. Good to go. All right, We need to get this one screw from down here, and that's a PH0 or JS0 screw. Let's go ahead and get that. Okay, and transfer it over to the new screen. Alright, there we go. Alright, we'll toss the old screen aside. Okay, next thing we gotta do, you can actually peel this up so that it reveals the thermal pad here. Okay, this isn't a sticky pad, this is a thermal pad that helps transfer heat. Okay, there's a bubble in it for some reason. There we go. Gotta get those bubbles out because I don't want it pushing on the back of the screen. Okay, most of the screens don't come with this layer, but if it does, make sure to peel that thing off. Okay, let's zoom out a bit. Now we're going to put the adhesive onto the phone, the edge of the phone here. It helps to do it this way facing you. Okay, so the thing comes like this. We're going to separate the outer piece here. Okay, so that we just have this small one. All right. And then these holes are used to line up with these sensors. So now we're just going to line up the top edge. So that's some adhesive residue. If there's some old adhesive residue, you want to remove it to make sure that it's nice and clean, the surface. Okay, and let's go ahead now and line it all up. Can be a little tricky here. Go. So now we have everything lined up. We're gonna push into the edge here. All right, so I'm just using my fingernail. You can use whatever works for you, plastic pry tools or what. All right, now I'm gonna rotate this over so I can see the edge better here. Get that all lined up. Get that all lined up. All right, looks good. Now I'm just gonna use my fingernail to kind of get it stuck down all along the edges. All right. Just like this. Rotate it around, make sure it's nice and solid. Okay. All right, and once you've got that done, we're gonna peel this back. You wanna actually roll this back. Uh-oh, it didn't even stay stuck in. So this adhesive actually might not stick, but we'll see. We'll try and get it stuck down as best we can. Okay, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then we'll just have to do no adhesive again. But once you get it stuck, usually you want to roll this back. Okay, did it just tear? What? Interesting. Okay, so the blue tab tore, so I have to use a needle to lift it up. There we go. Okay, and it is sticking down now, at least most of it. Okay, there we go. I'll use this needle to push down this edge. All right, now we're just gonna try and roll this back and hopefully it will all stick down. All right, and just roll this back. I'm pushing down as I roll back so that way it pushes the adhesive down as I kind of roll this away. Okay, I'm gonna go at an angle here. There we go. All right, so now we got all of that reattached. Let's go ahead and, oh, the battery's trying to reattach itself. Okay, now let's go ahead and reconnect the sensors, the camera, the microphone, or the speaker, microphone, everything in here. You have to kind of do it at a weird angle, but basically just go like this. Okay. It helps for me to use my hand and fingers like this. Okay. Get it lined up, and once it's lined up, push it down. All right, looks good. All right. Now we're going to connect these side connectors as well. Okay, and usually these, it's easier to kind of do it when it's up like this, so you can kind of see where the connector is going. All right, get it lined up. It's a little bit tough to do. Come on, go into place. There we go. Snap that in. And the last one. Come on. Okay, I think that's in. Okay, make sure it clicks in all the way, and then you can go ahead and click the battery back down. Good. And let's go ahead and power it up and see if it turns on. Be careful not to let the screen sit back into place yet, because we do have to put the connectors and everything back. Okay, hold the power button. And there we go. All right, so let's go ahead now and get all these little covers back on. So we'll get this back into place, and we'll get this back into place. Okay. And just like before, we're gonna loosely fit it first. Okay, so loosely fit the screw in. All right, that way you can align everything else. And I like to get the two outermost ones first. Okay. All right, then we can get the rest of them. All right, last one, and let's go ahead and tighten those into place. Alright, make sure they're nice and tight. I'm going to switch back over to the tri-wing or Y000. Okay, and we'll get the two screws for the sensors. Alright, make sure it stays aligned. Yeah, and we're just loosely fitting it first. Get the second screw. And now tighten that down. All right, good. Last screw, good. Okay, now we can get this back together. So what you want to do, because this has some hooks here, actually this one doesn't seem to have that. You want to get the top in first. Okay, make sure it's nice and aligned. I like to kind of like pull this with my thumb up to the top, and then after that I'm going to hold the center. We'll push the bottom half in now. Okay, assuming it's going to go. Let's see, is it lined up right? Okay, push the bottom half in. All right, there we go. And then now that the top and bottom are in, you can work your way towards the center and click that in. There we go. And now we should be good to go. We just got to get the last two screws in, which are the Pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screws. Okay. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it did, make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Alright? Excuse me. Other than that, that's pretty much all there is to it. Let's get this last screw in. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Alright, bye. Let's drop this.